Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to NUS. I'm Dr. Sham. I'll be presenting this lecture on Singapore's brand of multiculturalism and Singapore's history since 700 years ago. Well, this is Singapore, very small area here. Okay. We are part of the Malay Peninsula. In some parts of the year, January to April, the wind blows this way. If you're on a sailing ship, in those days there's no ships with engines, right? Every ship goes by wind, right? So the wind pushes the ships. So if the ships comes from there, it will push all the way to Singapore. So this is from January to April. Now, for the rest of the year, from July to November, the winds shift their direction. The winds now move from here, it goes there. So you bring all your things here, you offload in Singapore, and then you sell them. Why? Because before that, somebody who comes from here will collect all the things that were from here to bring it to Singapore, and then what do? They exchange. Right, so Singapore is in a very good location to be a transshipment point. So this is the reason why Singapore is a very attractive place and a place where the bigger powers will always want to take control of Singapore, because this is the point where you can, in other words, make money. According to the Singapore history, 200 years ago, this is what the British did. They came to Singapore and they took over control of Singapore so they can do business. When Raffles founded Singapore, it was a very messy place, in a word. It was never modern enough. He tried to organize Singapore into a proper town. This is what Raffles was thinking. I put everybody in the same place, they might fight. So what is the best solution? Put everybody away from each other. What I want you to take note is the fact that Raffles organized the town according to the different ethnic groups. He said the Chinese go one side, and then they had the Malays on another side, and then the Indians on another side, and the Europeans on another side. For the Malays, you come under the Malay leader. For the Chinese, you come under the leader of the Chinese called the Kapitan Cina, and the Indians come under the leader called the Kapitan India. That's the idea. So in the early days of Singapore, all very separate, different groups come under the leadership of their own ethnic leader. In Raffles' eyes, he says, this is good, separate people. But then the next question is, why is it not good? If people live in one place, in Singapore, in one country, but they still hate each other because they don't understand how each other are like, and the head of the country don't take the trouble to make sure everybody understands each other, it will not be good for the country, isn't it? Raffles sees Singapore at that time as not his country. He's there just to make money, and all of these people come to work in Singapore. He doesn't really care. All he knows at that time is, I must make sure there is peace, and I do that by separating people. But for a country to be a real country, then the leader of the country must make sure everybody understands each other, they appreciate each other, and even love each other. So this is what a leader of a country has to do. The British came to Singapore and they say, oh, the Malays are the natives, and so we built a school for the local people. It's called the Singapore Free School. Now it's called Raffles Institution, which is one of the best schools in Singapore. What about the Indians and the Chinese and the other communities? Raffles say, you want a school? Set up yourself. So in other words, the Chinese had to get their own money to set their own schools. Same with the Indians. The Europeans also have their own schools, but they cater to people who study English and they make them pay for it. So my question, good or no good, this system? Not good, I agree. Now, why is it not good? Number one, very true, it is not fair. So, for the Malays, the British says, you are the local people, we give you a school. But of course, just to say, we give you a school, but we teach you only very simple things. Not to make you clever, actually. Okay. We give you a school so that you can see we are the good ones who give you a school, so you better follow what we tell you. And then for the Chinese and the Indians, like they say, you go and get your own money, you go and establish your schools, But then, for the Chinese, they establish their schools. Where do you think they get their books from? From China. They learn everything about what they need to study for China. Same goes for the Indians. They only study what India teaches its people. So for example, for the Chinese, they learn only Mandarin. They learn about Chinese culture. They don't learn about what the Indians believe in or the Indian culture or the Malay culture. Same thing. With the Indians, they learn only about their own culture. So what happens then? When you leave school, you only know about your own stuff. It is a very divisive society. Everybody know only about their own stuff. Okay, so not about everybody else. So as a country, this is no good.